Hey, it's my friends. Hey, look, I'm back in the basement. Well, I ended up in the basement last night to do some work, and I just thought I'm going to start in the basement today, kind of symbolically, to get back to the bottom, get back to the beginning, and get back to a realization that this last week, where we've had to face the fact that schools are going to be closed for the rest of the year, we are now in a situation where we have to rethink how we're going to deal with the things we've already even thought about. So I'm going to talk about this more tomorrow, but we've gone from a place of grief about a situation, but we knew the end was coming, to grief about a situation where we don't know about the end. Or, as some people are talking about, this is kind of our new normal. And not everybody's excited about this new normal. And when that transition takes place, and over the course of this week, a lot of us, maybe you, maybe me, have been dealing with this general sense of, oh my gosh, this is so much bigger than I thought. And it's so much more than I thought it was going to be. And I thought it was going to be over by now. Here's my own story. When this thing started and they closed schools, you'll remember this was way back in March. And after a couple days, I thought, I just want to stay connected with everybody. I'm going to start doing a video every day. I'll do it until the quarantine's over. That was going to be on April 13th. Now, I'm sort of committed, if I stick to my commitment, to the end of this school year. And the truth is, we don't even know for sure what's going to happen next. Like, we don't know how school will start in the fall, or whether school will start, or if it'll start in a way that we even recognize. And I don't want to be scary with that, but we need to acknowledge we don't know when this ends. And so now we're going to get into a different way of thinking about this. Not how do we endure and get stronger until the finish line of what we see, but how do we dwell in this new normal in a way that continues to build up and encourage and doesn't fall victim to being overwhelmed by the circumstances. And so you may notice that our little daily video series now has a new name. It's not going to be Bellevue COVID Quarantine Coping Tips with Mr. Ott anymore, because that has the implication that we're doing this as long as we're in quarantine. Now it's going to have this new name. And we're just getting back to what we talked about. We are now Bellevue inSPIREd with Mr. Ott. And that means this is how life is. This is our life right now. And we can continue to be inspired, to be inspiring, and to continue to work on these 5 areas that we've talked about: spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional. And we're going to revisit those over the next week with also some interviews. We'll continue to do the interviews because people seem to like those. But we're going to be looking for examples of great stories about how people are being spiritual, physical, inspirational, relational, emotional, building strength in their family. And we're going to work on that in these coming days, in these coming weeks, in what is really another month and a half of getting together for me with my friends that I don't get to see in person. So we're going to be Bellevue inSPIREd from now on. We're going to work towards getting stronger in these areas. And to the extent that I can be helpful to you, I hope that you will join with me in this journey as we investigate how is it that our brains work? How is it that we come to our understanding and our explanation of how the world works? And how do we, as parents, communicate to our children a story of life that encourages, builds up, gives hope, gives assurance that it's going to be okay, and that they are going to be okay, and that we can do this together? How do we identify with our families and find our identity in our family when we can't find it in our connections outside of our family? How do we get better? How do we get stronger? And I'm looking forward to doing that with you. I hope that you will join me on the journey. Starting tomorrow, we're going to talk about the grief process when it's doesn't have a point to point to. What happens when we go from acute grief, which is grief related to a specific circumstance that has a defined moment, to chronic grief, like grief that just never really goes away because we don't know how it's ever going to end. And we'll spend some time talking about that tomorrow on Bellevue Inspired with Mr. Ott.